Hi everyone and welcome. Today I just have a quick little video for you because I am currently in the middle of 6 books and I thought it would be nice just to show you what I am currently reading, how far along I am in these books and what my current thoughts are. So for some of these I'm almost finished, so I do think that I have established my thoughts so far unless the ending is going to completely surprise me. But for some other ones I'm only a couple of chapters in, so I think that it will be fun to just see how I think of them now and then at my wrap-up at the end of the month, see if my thoughts changed. So without further ado, let's just get into it. And the first book I am almost finished with, and that is Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. So this is the first book in the standalone novels after the original trilogy, and I am 100 pages from the end. I'm 550 pages in, roughly. I'm really liking this one. I really like the revenge plot that you have here. You have main character Manza. I like her throughout the book and I like her character arc that you definitely have here. I do think that you have more of a plot in this first standalone than you had in the original trilogy. And you also have a character that we met in the original trilogy coming back here. And I like him a lot more in this book than in the original trilogy. However, there are a lot of battles here, and especially towards the end you have a lot of battle after battle. And even though this is done quite well and this does have an effect on the characters, as a person who doesn't really like a lot of battles, this is getting on my nerves at this point, and I do hope that they are somewhat finished now and we have a nice closure of the story. So I am really liking it. I'm definitely, again, liking Joe Abercrombie's humor. I'm listening to this on audiobook and the narrator is absolutely amazing. Definitely after being out of this world for a while, I've come to appreciate the writing style and the humor and the characterization a lot more. So that's definitely a plus. And I do want to see how the other two standalones are, but please, no more battles, because I've had it at this point. Then the next one is completely different and I am only 2 chapters in, and that is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. So I am going to read a bunch of standalones, a bunch of classics in 2022, and I'm going to put out a video of my schedule and how I am going to tackle this in maybe tomorrow even. I don't really know what my schedule is at this point, but very soon at the very least. So like I said, I'm only 17 pages in at this point, and it's completely different than what I thought it was going to be. I did know the general idea of The Picture of Dorian Gray, but first I thought that it was set in medieval ages, which is definitely not the case. I also thought that Dorian Gray was going to be our main character, which from the first chapter it doesn't seem like that is going to be the case. And I thought that it was going to be a very dense and deep book, very difficult to read, which again, it's not really the case. So I'm very pleasantly surprised so far. It's very funny as well. A lot of these characters are very extra and I just chuckle a lot when they are talking to each other. So yeah, I'm very pleasantly surprised here and I do hope that I will like it more and more as the story continues. There do seem to be a couple of themes that are explored here, especially between art and artist and what the difference is and what the art is supposed to portray and what the place of the artist is in that relationship, I should say. So I do want to see if there's more of that. And if it's a deeper book than it seems to be just from the first chapter. Then next up I have a book that I definitely need to finish this weekend because tomorrow, Sunday, I do have a spoiler-filled discussion of this over on Steve's channel, and that is Dark Sea's End by Richard Nell. So this is the second book in the first book in the Beyond Ash and Sand trilogy, which is the second trilogy. So this trilogy comes after the Ash and Sand trilogy. And if you don't know, I read that trilogy last year. As Kings of Ash, the second book in that trilogy, was my favorite of the series, and it also made my top 10 of the year. So I really liked it. And then this one, even though it's very different from that original trilogy, I'm in love. The original trilogy was grimdark, and yes, you can definitely see some grimdark getting through the pages, but it's definitely not as dark as the original trilogy. It's also not as big in scope, it's a lot smaller. You do have a character that we have from the original trilogy that I loved in the original trilogy, who's back here, so very glad with that. But also the new characters are enjoyable to read about. And Richard Nell does here what he does in the original trilogy as well, which is he keeps with one main character for a while, but then slowly but surely other characters are introduced and they have a very interesting plot that makes you feel for them from the get-go. So I'm currently halfway through. I'm 150 pages in. It's a 300-page book. It's very easy to get through. It reads a lot faster than the original trilogy. And yes, I know that I'm going to like it. I was very happy when I picked it up, and Steve said that it was going to be different than the original trilogy, but when I read the first couple of pages, the first couple of chapters, I immediately know, okay, I'm going to like it. So pleasantly surprised, even though it's not a surprise. I did think that I was going to like it. So just happy that in the end it turned out to be as good as I thought that it was going to be. And I do hope that it stays at, because like I said, I'm halfway through, so things can happen, but the way that it's going at this point, I'm confident that I will like it. Then this next one. This is one that I've been reading for a month at this point, I think, if it's not longer, and progress is very slowly. And that is Queen of Fire by Anthony Ryan. So this is the last book in the Raven's Shadow trilogy. I am enjoying my journey, but not as much as I would have liked. So if you don't know, Bloodsong is the first book in this trilogy. It's amazing. It's a 5-star read. I think that most people who pick it up will absolutely adore it. The second book is Tower Lord. It changes a couple of things. You go from one POV in the first book to multiple POVs in the second book. It goes from a very character-driven book, which is still very character-driven in the second book, but more focused on world building. And I think that that was masterfully done. In this third book, I don't really know what the aim is here. You still have the same characters as in the second book. I don't think that there are any new characters at this point, and we follow their journey, which is done very, very slowly. So since we don't really have a lot of extra world building at this point, we don't have extra characters, I do think that even the characters' arcs are at this point concluded. I am over halfway. I'm 380 pages in a 30-page book, so I do think that I'm a little bit over halfway. At this point, nothing in terms of the character arcs has happened. So I don't really know what the purpose of this book is. I'm still enjoying my time here, but it feels like the author has gone in a little bit too far and he should have reined himself back in and really got to the focus of the book. I do like the revelations that we have so far and getting closer to the conclusion, but a lot of this book is not that. It's just following the characters and being with them along for the ride, which is something that as a character-driven reader I can like and I can deal with, but still, I'm having very mixed thoughts about this one, and I do hope that the conclusion of the trilogy is satisfying. Next up, I have a book that I'm not that far in. I just started this morning. This is Buddy Read together with Joanna, and I'm very happy with that because it's the first buddy read that we have, and I do hope that more are to follow. That is Master of Sorrows by Justin T. Call. So this is the first book in a quartet, and this book is, or this series, I should say, is following the Chosen One, but he is actually destined to become the Dark Lord. I suppose he's destined to become the Master of Sorrows, I think. So at this point, I am starting chapter 4. I am 44 pages in, and I'm loving it so far. It really seems that this first book is going to be a coming-of-age story. I have heard that if you like Fitz from the Realm of the Elderlings, you're probably going to like the main character here as well, and I did really feel that. He is in school, and he is being bullied, and he has a very hard time because he has a disfigurement. I think he has something while he was born happened to his hand. I don't really know what's going on there, but there's something going on there at the very least, and people do treat him very badly for that. So I immediately felt for him, and even though you know that he's probably going to be bad at the end of the journey, you just can't help but feel for him. So yeah, I like the writing style, I like the setting so far, I like the little trinkets of magic and world building that we have here, because we also have the gods in here and prophecy, and normally if it's too traditional and it's too good versus evil, I don't like that, but with this one where you do have, great characters here, I think that I will absolutely adore it. So I had high hopes for this one. This was actually a 5-star prediction. It stays that way, it's still a 5-star prediction, so it's going strong. And then next up, I have a book that I'm taking very slowly. I am only 150 pages in, and normally that would be a good chunk of the story, but it's The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, which is 1,000+ pages, so I'm maybe 10% in at this point. I am doing a spoiler-filled review for this one, so if you have read the book, then keep your eyes open for that, but it's probably only coming out in 3 months, because I am going to read this over a course of 3 months, because there is a read-along going on, and I will link all the details in the cards up above and in the description box down below. So far, I'm really liking it. It's been a long time since I've read anything by Brandon Sanderson. I think that the last one I read was in 2020. And reading this, getting into this, I immediately felt, yes, this is very Sanderson. You have the magic system, you have the different people, you have the very action-packed start. that immediately throws you into the story, and you get immediately a lot of information about the magic system. It's again a very hard magic system that we have here. And in this one, in the start at least, so as far as I am in, we follow two main characters. I have met Kaladin at this point and Shallan. I really like Kaladin. Shallan, I like her journey and I like the plot that she has been given. I don't really know if I like her as a character. I still need to read more of her to see, but so far I'm just liking the story as a whole. I like how this is going to be very epic in scope, but because Brandon Sanderson's writing style is so easy to read, it doesn't feel dense. It feels like you can read big chunks of it at one time and not feel like your head is going to explode. So yes, I am going to take it slow over 3 months, but first I thought that I was going to read 1 chapter a day, something like that, and really spread it out. That's not possible. Because this is so fast-paced, because you want to keep reading, I think that I will now read just chunks of 100/200 pages and then just leave it for a couple of days or a couple of weeks even. And because it's so easy to follow, at this point at least, I don't really think that that will be a problem, and that when I start reading, I will be immediately sucked into the story again. So, those are all of the books that I am currently reading. Like I said, for some of these I will have other videos coming out, and of course I will do the wrap-up at the end of the month. Some of these I do need to finish quite quickly, so fingers crossed that I will be able to do so for a couple at least over the weekend, and then get this number down, because normally I am not in the middle of 6 books. This is not something that I like for myself, but since I do enjoy most of these, and since, like I said, like Way of Kings is one that I will have on my currently reading pile for the next couple of months, so yeah, it's not as bad as it looks, but it's still not as good as I would like it to be. Please let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these and what your thoughts are, and also what books or book you are currently reading and if you are enjoying it. As always, I hope that you have enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Bye!